Night arrives like warm water poured slowly into a quiet bowl, not rushing, not insisting, just settling until the world feels softer around the edges. Somewhere beyond the last line of trees, a geothermal valley breathes. You can't quite see it from far away, but you can sense it. The way the air changes, the way fog gathers like a slow thought, the way the ground holds a gentle warmth that doesn't need sunlight to exist. Moonlight rests on dark rocks, turning their surfaces silver in thin patches. A narrow stream glides through the valley with a sound so calm it feels like a lullaby the earth has been humming for centuries. And above it all, steam rises from hot springs in pale ribbons, drifting upward as if the land is quietly exhaling. The smell here is clean and mineral, like wet stone, like rain on volcanic rock, like the world freshly rinsed. The air is cool, but the warmth from below creates little pockets of comfort, so the valley feels like it's wearing a soft scarf in the night. Even the fog seems relaxed. It doesn't hurry anywhere. It simply floats, pauses, and drifts again, like it's practicing being unbothered. Honestly, the fog has better boundaries than most of us, and in this gentle landscape, where heat comes from within the earth itself, everything moves at a slower rhythm. Water doesn't just flow, it glides. Steam doesn't burst, it unfurls. Light doesn't glare, it glows. Welcome to sleepy nature sleep, where the wild grows soft and curiosity becomes calm. Tonight, let your thoughts follow the rhythm of the earth. Your breathing settle like evening wind, and your mind wander gently through the quiet wild. If this place feels peaceful, you're always welcome back, like a quiet campfire tucked into the trees, where there's no schedule, no noise, and nobody asks you to be anything other than here. No membership card required, only your presence. And if you'd like to support the channel, it helps us keep the night lights low and the nature facts cozy, so we can keep making these calm journeys for you, night after night. Tonight, we're drifting into geothermal hot springs, into the warm, mineral pools that shimmer beneath moonlight, into the steam that rises like slow breath, into the quiet science of heat traveling up from deep within the earth. We'll wander gently through volcanic valleys and stone-lined streams, where water warms without fire and the land seems to hum softly under your feet. Not in a dramatic way, more like a comforting purr from a planet that's been doing this for a very long time. So let your shoulders loosen, let your jaw unclench, let your hands rest, heavy and warm. And as the steam lifts into the night sky, we'll begin our slow journey into warmth, into quiet, into sleep. The steam makes everything feel a little gentler. It drifts low across the rocks and curls around the edges of warm pools, softening sharp lines the way sleep softens sharp thoughts. Under moonlight, the vapor looks almost blue, like the night has decided to wear a quieter color. The air is cool on your cheeks, but the warmth rising from the ground makes the valley feel like it's holding a secret comfort close to its chest. In a place like this, questions don't arrive like puzzles. They arrive like a slow ripple. One small thought floating across the surface of your mind, then settling again. Tonight's question is simple. What does the earth remember when it warms water from within? Not in a dramatic, mystical way, just in a gentle, nature-rooted way. The kind of curiosity you can hold without squeezing. Does the ground remember the snowmelt that seeped down through cracks months ago and now returns as steam? Does it remember the rain that fell on a mountainside and slowly traveled, patient as time, until it found heat below? And if the water rises warm and mineral-rich, is that the Earth's memory made visible, carried up in tiny droplets and drifting fog? There's something soothing about geothermal places because they feel steady. Surface weather can change, wind, frost, rain, clear skies, but deep warmth continues quietly. The springs don't need sunlight to feel alive. They don't need applause. They simply keep offering warmth, night after night, as if the planet is saying, "Here, rest." A faint wink of humor, soft as a whisper. The Earth has been running its own spa for millions of years, and somehow it still doesn't charge for parking. Very generous. A little suspicious, but generous. And maybe that's the comfort in the question. It's not asking you to solve anything. It's inviting you to notice how much of nature is made of slow returns. Water leaving one place, traveling unseen, and arriving somewhere else transformed. So as we move deeper into this warm valley, you don't need to answer our question. You don't need to figure out the Earth. You can simply let the thought drift beside you, like steam beside water, quiet, present, and unbothered. What does the Earth remember when it warms water from within? Let that question rest for a while in the mist, and while it rests, let your breathing do what it already knows how to do. In and out, slowly, naturally, like a warm spring releasing heat into the cool night air, without effort, without hurry, without needing to become anything else. Before we step closer to the pools, we let the landscape introduce itself. This geothermal valley has a quiet kind of drama. Nothing loud, nothing sharp, just contrasts that feel comforting. Cool night air above, gentle warmth below. Dark volcanic rocks scattered like sleeping animals. A ribbon of water weaving through it all, gliding over stones with a sound that could lull almost anything to rest. The ground here is old, in the way mountains are old, patient, unbothered by our schedules. Some rocks are smooth, shaped by water. Others are rough and porous, full of tiny holes where bubbles once lived long ago. And in certain places, the Earth seems to breathe, steam rising in slow sheets, drifting, thinning, returning again. You might hear a small chorus of sounds, the quiet trickle of runoff, the occasional soft pop of a tiny bubble at the surface of a pool, wind moving lightly through grasses near the edges. Nothing competes for attention. Even the valley seems to speak in whispers, and the science here can stay gentle, like a warm hand on the shoulder. Geothermal hot springs happen when water travels down through cracks in the ground and meets heat from below. Heat held in hot rock or warmed by deeper systems inside the earth. The water warms slowly, collects minerals as it moves, and then rises again through openings, emerging as springs, pools, and steam. No rush, no drama, just a slow cycle, a small calming aside. The water doesn't hurry. It's not trying to impress anyone. It's been practicing patience for a very long time. Around the springs, life adjusts in subtle ways. In cooler edges, you may find grasses and small plants, their roots enjoying the dampness, In warmer zones, the air feels thicker and moisture clings to stone like a soft veil. If there are trees nearby, their silhouettes stand quietly against the pale fog, as if they're listening. And then there are colors you might not expect at night. Faint mineral stains, rust reds, pale whites, muted yellows, where water has evaporated and left quiet signatures behind. In daylight, these places can look bright. At night, they look like gentle watercolor. This is the world we're entering, a landscape shaped by deep warmth and slow movement, a place where the Earth's interior offers comfort without noise, a place where water and stone collaborate calmly to create something that feels like natural rest. So as you breathe, let the setting settle into you. Cool air, warm ground, soft steam, quiet water, and when you're ready, we'll drift closer to the first pool, where moonlight meets warmth, and the night becomes even gentler. At the edge of the first spring, the steam looks like silk. It rises in slow ribbons, curling and uncurling, as if the air is carefully folding a scarf. Moonlight catches the drifting vapor and turns it pale, almost luminous, so the steam becomes visible in layers, floating up and away, then dissolving into the night. The water below is calm, not still like glass, but calm like breath. The surface shimmers softly, reflecting the sky in broken pieces. Every so often, a tiny bubble lifts up from below and quietly opens at the surface. One small hello from the deep, and then nothing again. If you lean closer, not with urgency, just with curiosity, you might notice how the air changes right above the pool. Coolness becomes warmth, dryness becomes moisture. It's as if the spring has its own weather, a tiny climate made of heat and vapor, a gentle science note tucked into the mist. Steam forms when warm water meets cooler air, and water molecules gather into tiny droplets. The vapor you see isn't empty air. It's a soft cloud of moisture, tiny beads suspended, drifting together like a slow-moving idea. And if that sounds cozy, it is. The steam is basically the spring's way of exhaling. Not a dramatic exhale, more like a relaxed sigh after a long day of being the earth. A small bit of humor, kept soft. If the planet had a bedtime routine, it might look exactly like this. Warm bath, gentle steam, and absolutely no notifications. Around the pool, the rocks are darker where they're wet, lighter where they're dry. Some are slick and smooth, others textured like sponge. Minerals can leave faint lines and crusts, quiet reminders that water has passed this way again and again. The air smells clean and mineral, like wet stone and distant rain. If you listen, you can hear the spring's small sounds, a slow lap against rock, a quiet drip from a ledge, the tiniest fizz of rising gas. And then, without any need to analyze it, you can simply let this scene slow your mind. Steam rising, moonlight resting, water gliding. If thoughts drift in, let them drift like vapor. They can appear, curl gently, and dissolve without needing to become a story. Your mind doesn't need to hold shape tonight. It can soften, in and out, like steam, like warm air lifting, like quiet returning. And as we stay here a moment longer, beside this gentle exhale of the earth, let your body borrow the spring's rhythm, steady warmth beneath, cool calm above, until you feel yourself settling, naturally into rest. The water in a geothermal spring is never just water. It has traveled, it has waded, it has moved through stone, along cracks and hidden channels, slowly collecting tiny pieces of the earth, minerals dissolved into the flow like quiet souvenirs. When the water rises again, it carries those minerals back to the surface, and the landscape wears the evidence in gentle colors and textures. Around the pools, you may see pale edges where minerals have settled and dried, chalky whites, soft creams, faint oranges. In some places, the rock looks lightly dusted, as if the earth sprinkled flour on itself for no reason other than tradition. In others, thin lines trace where warm water has trickled, leaving delicate patterns behind like slow handwriting. A little humor, very gentle. Geothermal springs are basically the Earth's soup, and minerals are the seasoning. The planet is not shy with flavor. Thankfully, we are only admiring, not taste testing. The science can remain calm and simple. As groundwater moves through rock, it dissolves certain minerals, depending on the geology of the area. The warmer the water, the more readily it can carry dissolved materials. When the water reaches the surface and cools, or when some of it evaporates, those minerals may deposit, building up quiet crusts, terraces, or smooth mineral rims over time. Over time is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Nature's time is unhurried. Some formations grow so slowly you could visit twice in a year and see almost nothing change. And that is comforting. It means the landscape isn't rushing either. Near the spring, you might notice how the mineral-rich water changes the feel of the air. Moisture clings to skin a little longer. The rocks gleam slightly, even in low light. And the steam, drifting upward, carries the faintest suggestion of the Earth's interior, clean, stone-like, quietly alive. In some hot springs, microscopic life can thrive in warm water and create subtle color bands. We don't need to dive deep into details tonight. It's enough to know that even here, where warmth rises from below, the living world finds calm ways to belong, and you, listening, can belong too. You don't need to do anything with this information. Let it be like minerals in water, a gentle addition, not a demand. Just a soft layer of understanding that makes the scene feel richer, warmer, more real. So imagine the spring's water moving slowly beneath the surface, carrying minerals like whispers. Imagine those minerals settling along stone as the water cools, leaving quiet patterns behind. And as you breathe, let your own thoughts settle the same way, slowly, quietly, until only calm remains, like a smooth mineral rim around a warm pool. One of the most soothing things about geothermal places is the gentle contrast. Above the pools, the night air is cool, clean, quiet, slightly crisp. It brushes your skin lightly, the way a cool sheet feels when you first lie down. But beneath your feet, the ground holds warmth, not hot in a harsh way, warm in a steady, patient way, as if the earth has been saving comfort for later. This warmth doesn't come from the day. It comes from deeper sources, heat stored in rock, lingering energy from the planet's interior, the slow movement of warmth through layers beneath the surface. The ground, in its own quiet way, is a heater that never needed to be plugged in. A faint smile of humor. The earth has been preheating, for a few billion years. It's committed, extremely committed. Near the water, the temperature shifts in small gradients. Step closer to the steam, and you feel softness. Step back, and the cool returns. The valley becomes a gentle lesson in balance, warmth and coolness, sharing the same space without arguing about it. The water itself seems to understand this balance. It rises warm, releases some heat into the air, and continues flowing, sometimes spilling into streams that cool gradually as they travel. Warmth fades slowly, like a thought fading into sleep. Nothing snaps from hot to cold. Everything transitions, and transition is a calming word. If you listen closely, you might hear little signs of this heat exchange, a faint hiss where steam meets cold air, a soft drip from a warmed rock ledge, the quiet lap of water against stone. These aren't events. They're just the valley's normal breathing. In the warmest spots, steam gathers more densely and drifts low, hugging the ground. It looks like fog, but it feels different. More like a warm cloud that forgot to float away. It wraps around rocks and slips between them, smoothing the landscape into softer shapes. And that, too, can smooth your thoughts. If you've been carrying the day in your shoulders, imagine the warmth rising from below and loosening each muscle gently, not pushing, not forcing, just warming like a slow bath for the body's tension. Inhale, cool air. Exhale, warmth spreading. You don't have to control it. You don't have to breathe perfectly. Just let your breath find its own pace, the way the valley finds its own balance. Cool night above, warm earth below. And somewhere between those two, you are resting, held in a gentle contrast that feels like comfort by design. So stay here a moment longer in this quiet meeting of temperatures. Let the cool air calm your mind. Let the warm ground calm your body. And when you're ready, we'll drift onward, deeper into the steam, where the springs continue their soft work, and sleep continues its slow arrival. If you sit beside a geothermal pool long enough, you begin to notice the smallest movements, not big waves, not splashing, just tiny bubbles rising from below, one here, one there, like the earth sending soft messages upward, not to alarm anyone, just to remind the surface that something warm is happening underneath. A bubble forms quietly in the dark water. It grows, slowly. Then it lifts, drifting up through the warm depths until it reaches the surface and opens with the gentlest sound, more a sigh than a pop. The water smooths over again as if nothing happened, and then, a moment later, another bubble does the same. This is the rhythm of geothermal breathing. The science can be simple and calm. Warm water often carries dissolved gases. As conditions change, temperature, pressure, movement, tiny pockets of gas can gather and rise. Sometimes it's just the water releasing what it has held. Sometimes it's the earth offering a little extra lift from below. Either way, the bubbles rise without hurry. A small, sleepy smile of humor. It's like the pool is quietly texting the surface, "Still warm down here," and the surface replies, "Noted," and goes back to being smooth. In moonlight, the bubbles can look like little beads of glass moving through darkness, and when they reach the top, they create delicate rings that spread out and fade. The rings are short-lived, but they feel soothing because they show change, that doesn't become chaos. Motion that returns to stillness. If your mind has been busy today, this is a good image to borrow. A thought rises. It touches the surface of attention. It makes a small ripple, and then it fades. No argument, no effort, just a natural settling. Listen to the pool for a moment. You might hear the faintest fizzing sound from certain spots, like the world quietly carbonating itself. You might hear a soft lap of water against rock. And above it all, the steam continues to lift into the cool air, slow, steady, unbothered. Inhale, like cool night air. Exhale, like warm bubbles rising. Let your shoulders soften. Let your face relax. Let your thoughts become lighter, like they're floating up and dissolving. Because nothing here is in a rush. The pool doesn't hurry to empty. The earth doesn't hurry to heat. The bubbles don't hurry to arrive. Everything is moving in the gentlest cycle. Rise, release, return. And if sleep begins to rise in you the same way, quietly, slowly, let it. You don't need to chase it. You can simply allow it to surface and spread, like calm rings on warm water, until your mind becomes smooth again. Hot springs are often held in bowls of stone, natural basins shaped by the patient work of water and mineral. In the dim light, the edges of the pools look smooth and rounded, as if they've been gently polished by countless slow passes of flow. In some places, the rim is pale, mineral deposits built up layer by layer, like the earth quietly knitting a border around its warm water. If you run your eyes along the rim, you can see how time leaves soft signatures, a slight lip where water often spills, a shallow groove where trickles repeatedly find the same path, a textured patch where minerals settle differently. Nothing about it feels hurried or sharp. It's all gradual shaping, like a river carving a stone, not with force, but with persistence. A gentle joke, kept cozy. These basins are basically the Earth's bathtub, and the stone is the tub that never needed renovation. Truly legendary homeownership. The science here is comforting because it's slow. Mineral-rich water can deposit material as it cools or evaporates. Over long periods, this can build terraces, rims, and delicate formations. The basin becomes a record of repeated warmth, water arriving, lingering, leaving a trace, returning again. If you think about that rhythm for too long, it might make you sleepy in the best way. Repetition is calming. Cycles are reassuring. The world is always doing something familiar, even when we're tired. Around the basin, the rocks can feel warm to the touch, especially near the waterline, while the outer stones remain cool. The valley holds this contrast like a quiet secret. Warmth hidden inside, coolness around the edges, and in the steam, stone looks softer. Hard surfaces become gentle shapes, edges blur. The whole scene feels like it's been slightly out of focus on purpose, like the landscape itself is ready for sleep. If your thoughts are too sharp tonight, let them blur too. Inhale, and imagine warmth pooling inside you. Exhale, and imagine the edges of the day softening. The basin teaches a simple, sleepy lesson. You don't have to change quickly to be changed. You don't have to force your way into rest. You can be shaped by calm repetition, by breath after breath, by quiet after quiet. So picture the stone basin holding warm water under moonlight. Picture the rim built by tiny deposits, one after another, over time too long to count. And let that slow patience settle into your body. You are allowed to take time. You are allowed to soften gradually. You are allowed to rest without rushing. And somewhere in the valley, the water continues to glide, held by stone, held by time, until your own mind begins to feel held the same way. Not all geothermal water stays in one place. Sometimes a spring overflows, quietly, gently, and its warm water begins to wander. It slips over the rim of a pool and forms a thin stream that travels through the valley like a slow ribbon, weaving between stones, disappearing under moss, reappearing again with a soft shimmer. The stream doesn't rush. It doesn't perform. It simply moves because gravity is patient and consistent, and water is very good at listening to gravity. A small, warm chuckle of humor. The stream is not trying to get somewhere. It's not on a productivity schedule. It's just streaming. As the warm water travels, it cools little by little. You might notice this if you imagine stepping from one section to another. Near the pool, the air feels softer and warmer. A few meters away, the warmth fades, but the dampness remains. The stream becomes a gentle gradient, warm at the source, cooler as it drifts onward. This slow cooling is one of the sweetest things to observe. It's change without shock, transition without stress. It's the kind of change that feels safe for a sleepy mind. In the dimness, you may see the stream reflecting moonlight in broken pieces, like scattered silver. Tiny ripples form as water slides over pebbles, then flatten again in small, calmer pockets. And if the valley is quiet enough, you can hear the stream's voice, a soft murmur, a low, steady hush that seems designed to slow your breathing. Sometimes the stream feeds into another pool, smaller, quieter, tucked behind stones like a hidden cup. Sometimes it spreads into shallow channels, warming a patch of earth, creating a little microclimate where the air stays damp and gentle. And in those damp edges, plant life often finds comfort. Moss may cling to rock, looking darker and fuller. Grasses near the water line may look brighter, less thirsty. The valley becomes a soft collaboration. Heat from below, water in motion, plants accepting moisture without making a big deal about it. You can borrow this wandering for your thoughts. If your mind is moving tonight, let it move like the stream, slowly, softly, without urgency. It can pass over stones without getting stuck. It can slip around obstacles without arguing. It can cool down as it goes. Inhale, like warm water at the source. Exhale, like warmth drifting outward, becoming calmer. And if a thought forms a small ripple, let it. The ripple can spread and then fade. The stream continues. The night holds it. No pressure to stop thinking instantly. Just keep wandering gently, breath by breath, until your mind reaches a quieter pool and settles there, warm and still. In geothermal valleys, fog behaves differently. It doesn't always float high and distant. Sometimes it stays low, hugging the ground as if it's trying to keep the rocks company. It slides between stones, drapes over the edges of pools, and curls along warm stream beds like a soft blanket that forgot it had a top side. Moonlight makes this fog glow faintly. It turns the valley into a dreamscape, edges softened, distances shortened, everything a little quieter and nearer. Even the air feels gentle, because fog carries moisture, and moisture changes the way the world touches your skin. A sleepy bit of humor. The fog is very committed to coziness. It's basically the valley's emotional support blanket. Fog forms when warm, moist air meets cooler air, and tiny droplets condense into a visible cloud. In geothermal places, warm water adds moisture steadily, and cool night air is always ready to receive it. The result is this slow, continuous softness. Steam becoming mist, mist becoming fog, fog drifting into new shapes, and shapes are soothing. Especially shapes that don't hold still long enough to become demanding. Watch the fog for a moment, and you'll see it change without trying. It thickens, thins, curls, stretches, dissolves. It's never stuck. It never argues with itself. It simply becomes what the air and heat allow it to be. This is an excellent bedtime role model. If your thoughts are forming shapes, memories, plans, little worries, let them behave like fog. They can appear, they can drift, they can thin out and vanish. You don't need to chase them down and pin them to a board. Inhale, and imagine cool air entering. Exhale, and imagine warm moisture rising, becoming soft mist. Sometimes the fog parts briefly and reveals a glint of water, then closes again. It's like the valley is blinking slowly, and that slow blinking can become your pace too. Eyes heavy, attention narrowing, awareness softening. The rocks in fog look gentler. Hard textures become smooth silhouettes. Sharp angles become rounded shadows. Even the world's firm things look less firm when they're wrapped in softness. So let your mind be wrapped. Let the day blur. Let details fade. Let your breathing become the clearest thing. Simple, steady, present. The fog doesn't force stillness. It invites it. It says quietly, you don't need to see everything right now. You don't need to know everything right now. You can rest in not knowing, the way fog rests in the valley. And as the fog hugs the warm ground, you can let sleep hug you back, softly, steadily, until you drift into the quiet wild without needing to notice when you arrive. Some hot spring pools are so calm, they seem to hold the sky. Not perfectly, because the surface is always alive in tiny ways, but enough that you can see moonlight reflected in soft fragments. A pale shape of clouds, a suggestion of stars, a darker line where a tree stands at the edge, watching quietly. When the water is very still, the reflection looks like a second world, one upside down, one made of shimmer, and it feels soothing because it doubles the quiet. A quiet valley above, and a quiet sky below. A gentle joke, barely louder than the water. The pool is basically the world's most relaxed mirror. No filters, no opinions, just reflections. The calmness of the pool comes from many small conditions: shelter from wind, the shape of the basin, the gentle flow of water entering and leaving. Even when warmth rises from below, it can rise softly without breaking the surface into chaos. Bubbles may appear, but they do their little sigh and disappear. Ripples may spread, but they fade quickly. The pool teaches you something important for sleep. Movement can exist without disturbance. You can breathe. You can shift slightly. You can have thoughts pass through and still remain calm. Around the edges, steam drifts low. Sometimes it slides across the surface like a thin veil, and the reflection blurs into softness. The sky becomes a watercolor. The moon becomes a pale smear of light. And then the veil thins, and the reflection returns again. This gentle appearing and fading is perfect for a tired mind, because it suggests you don't have to keep clarity all the time. You can let things blur. You can let your thoughts become less defined. You can let the day's images fade without needing to hold on. Inhale and imagine the sky reflected. Exhale and imagine the reflection softening. If you want, you can let your mind become the pool. Let it hold a few reflections, small, harmless ones. A memory that doesn't sting, a pleasant scene, a simple idea. And then let the steam drift across and blur it. No gripping, no analyzing, just a gentle fade. The pool doesn't worry about being perfect. It doesn't worry about whether it's reflecting correctly. It simply rests in its own calm, letting the world appear on its surface and then dissolve again. And you can rest like that too. Let the night appear in your mind as soft light. Let it shimmer. Let it fade. And as your breath continues, steady, quiet, natural, allow your thoughts to become reflections. Beautiful, temporary, and not required to stay. The pool holds the sky without effort. Let your body hold rest the same way, until sleep becomes the only reflection left, smooth and quiet, beneath the steam. Around a geothermal spring, the most interesting places are often the edges, not the deep center where the water is warmest, but the gentle border where hot meets cool, where steam thins, where water cools into a mild stream, where the ground changes from warm and damp to cool and dry. These edges are quiet transition zones, and nature loves a good transition. The air here feels different on your skin. Warmth brushes past in soft waves, then fades. Moisture clings lightly, then releases. If you step just a little closer, the fog thickens. A little farther, it becomes clear again. The valley is offering a slow lesson in gradients, how change can be gentle when it happens step by step. A sleepy joke, kept featherlight. The edge is like the spring's comfort zone. Not too hot, not too cold. Basically, the perfect temperature for doing absolutely nothing. In these mild areas, plant life often finds a small advantage. Moss may spread along rocks where moisture stays longer. Grasses may grow a little more lush near trickling channels. Tiny ferns might curl into sheltered spots where steam keeps the air from drying out too quickly. Even if you can't see all the details at night, you can feel the logic of it. Life follows comfort. Life follows water. Life follows the soft places. And you can follow softness too. At the edge of a pool, you might see where mineral-rich water meets cooler flow and leaves behind delicate textures. The ground may be slightly spongy in places, with thin layers of mineral deposit forming smooth, pale surfaces. In other spots, dark volcanic rock remains exposed, shining faintly where it's damp. The edge is where the valley feels most touchable, not in a do something way, in a notice and relax way. If your mind has been sharp today, full of clear lines and bright urgency, imagine it stepping toward a thermal edge. Imagine it moving from too hot thinking, too cold worrying, into a middle place where everything is just warm enough to loosen. Inhale, cool night air. Exhale, warmth rising softly from the ground. You don't need to force your thoughts to stop. You only need to guide them toward a gentler temperature. Let them become less intense, less sharp, less demanding, like water cooling as it travels. The edge of the spring doesn't insist on anything. It simply exists as a place where comfort happens naturally. Heat meets cool. Steam meets air. Water meets stone. And everything becomes softer at the boundary. So let your attention rest at the edge tonight, not in the center of thinking, not in the cold distance of worry, just here, where warmth and coolness share space politely, until your breathing steadies, your shoulders loosen, and your mind begins to quiet in the most natural way. In daylight, geothermal springs can be surprisingly colorful. Not loud, not neon in an artificial way, but alive with soft bands of color. Pale greens, rusty oranges, creamy whites, gentle golds. At night, these colors fade into subtle hints, like watercolor left to dry. But even in moonlight, you can sometimes sense them. Faint stains on stone, soft gradients near the waterline. Some of that color comes from minerals. Iron can leave warm rust tones. Sulfur can pale the ground. Other elements leave their own gentle signatures, like the earth signing its name in quiet ink. And sometimes, color comes from life, tiny organisms that live in warm water and form thin mats along the edges where the temperature is just right. They don't perform. They simply belong. They spread where conditions feel comfortable, growing slowly, quietly, painting the landscape without ever trying to be art. A small joke, very soft. The springs have their own interior decorator, and it's microscopic. No invoices, no dramatic reveal, just quietly gorgeous. We don't need heavy biology tonight. Just a simple, soothing truth. Warmth and water create opportunities. Where conditions are stable enough, life can settle into patterns, thin layers, gentle films, soft growth along stone. If you imagine the spring in the morning, you might picture these color bands more clearly. A warm edge of orange where minerals settle, a soft green where tiny life finds a home, a pale rim where water evaporates and leaves quiet residue behind. At night, the valley becomes more about shape and feel than color. Steam becomes the main painter, blurring lines and softening textures. Moonlight becomes the brush stroke, laying pale highlights over rocks and water. And that's enough. You don't need to see everything to be soothed by it. Sometimes, not seeing everything is the most restful thing. If your mind is trying to light up details, running through lists, replaying scenes, let it dim. Let it become moonlit instead of fluorescent. Let the day's colors fade into softer tones. Inhale, like pale light. Exhale, like steam drifting across stone. The springs remind us that beauty can be quiet, slow, and almost invisible. That color can exist as a hint that life can thrive without making noise. So tonight, let your thoughts become like those gentle colors at night, present but muted, soft but not demanding, a background wash rather than a bright headline. And as the valley continues to breathe, steam rising, water gliding, allow your attention to settle into a calmer palette until sleep arrives like dawn's first pale light. Quietly, without effort. Even a small breeze becomes interesting in a geothermal valley. In most places at night, wind feels cool and dry, moving through trees like a quiet whisper. Here, the wind arrives and meets steam, and the steam responds. It lifts, curls, drifts sideways, thickens in some places, thins in others. The breeze doesn't fight the vapor. It simply guides it, like a gentle hand turning a page. A feather-light joke. The wind is not here to cause problems. The wind is here to rearrange the fog like it's tidying a blanket. Very considerate, honestly. When the breeze passes over a hot spring, it can carry warmth a little farther. You might feel a soft wave of heat brush your face, then fade as the wind continues. It's a tiny reminder that air is always moving, always sharing temperatures, always blending the world quietly. This is heat transfer in its calmest form. Warm water gives heat to the air. The air moves, spreading that warmth gently. Then it cools again as it drifts away. A slow exchange, a quiet balance. The plants around the spring seem to accept this easily. Grasses sway, then settle. Leaves move once, then still. Nothing holds tension. Everything participates in the breeze and returns to rest. You can do the same. If your body feels tight, imagine the wind moving through you, not pushing, not forcing, just passing gently and loosening what it touches. Imagine warmth rising from below, meeting that breeze inside you, creating a soft comfort that spreads and fades, spreads and fades. Inhale, cool air. Exhale, warm steam. The steam itself is never fixed. It's always changing shape, and yet the valley remains the valley. The springs remain warm. The rocks remain steady. There's comfort in that. The surface can move and shift, and the deeper reality stays calm. Your thoughts can be like steam. They can drift. They can change shape. They can thin and fade. And you don't have to chase them. Let the breeze carry them a little farther from you. Let your attention return to what is steady. Your breath, your body, the quiet room around you. The wind passes, the steam reshapes, the pool remains, and you remain too, safe, supported, allowed to soften. So listen for the breeze in the valley. Hear it as a hush through grasses, a faint movement in leaves, a subtle lift in the steam. Let it become a lullaby without melody, a simple reminder that the night is already doing the work of calming the world. All you have to do is follow. There's a moment before sunrise when everything turns blue. Not bright blue, soft blue. A quiet, airy blue that makes the world feel like it's still dreaming. The sky lightens gradually, without urgency, and the geothermal pools begin to glow differently. Steam that looked silver in moonlight now looks pale and milky, drifting upward into a sky that is slowly remembering morning. The warm water holds this blue hour like a secret. Its surface reflects the changing sky in gentle fragments, and the valley feels suspended between night and day, neither fully asleep nor fully awake. It's a peaceful in-between. A small, sleepy joke. The valley is basically hitting the snooze button on sunrise. And honestly, we support that. In this blue hour, dew may cling to grasses at the edges of the springs. Tiny droplets line the tips of plants like small beads, catching the faint new light. Rocks that were dark and mysterious at midnight now show more texture, smooth patches, porous holes, mineral crusts like pale frosting along the rim of a pool. Steam continues to rise, but now it feels less like night breath and more like morning breath, slow, steady, calm. It drifts, thins, returns again, and the contrast is still here. Cool air above, warm earth below, meeting in soft layers of mist. This time of day is comforting because it reminds us that transitions don't have to be harsh. You don't wake up instantly. The sky doesn't brighten instantly. Even the valley shifts slowly from one mood to another, and you, listening, are allowed to transition slowly too. If sleep has already arrived for you, let these words pass like fog. If you're still awake, let blue hour soften your mind. It's a gentle color. It doesn't demand attention. It feels like quiet acceptance. Inhale, like pale light growing. Exhale, like night fading gently. Somewhere nearby, a bird might offer a faint call, not loud, not urgent, just a small reminder that day will come when it comes. The springs don't rush to prepare. The water continues its slow movement. The steam continues its slow rise. And you don't need to prepare either. You don't need to rehearse tomorrow. You don't need to solve anything before sleep. You can rest in the blue hour, whether it's in the sky outside or simply in the quiet mood inside you. Let your attention become lighter. Let your thoughts become thinner. Let your breathing become the only steady thing you follow. And as dawn approaches, quietly, politely, allow your mind to drift toward the deepest kind of rest, the kind that feels like warm water under a cool sky, held in soft blue light. Some geothermal springs don't sit in a single bowl. They spill gently and build a staircase. Over long, patient time, mineral-rich water flows outward and cools. A thin film of deposits settles at the edges, and gradually, small terraces form, shallow steps of stone that guide water from one level to the next. In daylight, these terraces can look like layered pools, each one catching the sky in a different way. At night, they feel like quiet shapes, soft outlines under steam, like the Earth's architecture drawn in whispers. The water moves over the terraces slowly. It doesn't tumble. It doesn't rush. It simply slips from one shallow lip to another, as if it's practicing a bedtime routine. Flow. Pause. Flow. Pause. A gentle joke, because it's cozy. If the Earth ever wanted to install stairs, it clearly refused the idea of doing it quickly. This is not renovation. This is eventual decoration. The science is simple and soothing. As warm water rises and spreads, it can deposit minerals when it cools or evaporates. Over time, the deposits build up small rims. Water continues to follow these contours, deepening them, smoothing them, reinforcing them, until the terraces become stable features of the landscape. And over time here means the kind of time that doesn't care about calendars. The kind of time that makes you feel less pressured just by thinking about it. No deadlines, no urgent emails, just slow, repeated movement shaping stone. Steam drifts over the terraces like a veil. It softens the edges so each step looks gentler, rounder, more forgiving. In moonlight, the wet surfaces shine faintly, and the terraces become like quiet mirrors, each one holding a little piece of the night. This is a restful scene for a mind that has been working too hard. Because it suggests something comforting. You don't have to change all at once. You can shape yourself in small, slow steps, breath by breath, night by night. You can become calmer the way terraces form, gradually, without force. Inhale, like warm water gathering. Exhale, like water spilling gently into the next shallow pool. And if your thoughts feel scattered, imagine them settling into terraces too, collecting in calmer compartments, smoothing out, becoming still. You don't need to hold everything in one place. You can let your mind distribute itself into quieter levels. The terraces keep flowing without hurry. Let your breath keep flowing too, until your attention becomes as gentle as mineral water slipping over stone, and sleep arrives like the next calm step, easy, natural, and soft. It's quietly amazing to remember that this warm water has traveled unseen. Before it became a steaming pool under the open sky, it may have been rain on a distant slope, snow melt slipping into soil, a small trickle disappearing into cracks in the rock, vanishing from view, not as an ending, but as the beginning of a longer journey. Down below, the earth holds spaces we never see, fractures, porous layers, quiet channels. Water moves through them slowly, guided by gravity, shaped by stone, warmed by deep heat. It doesn't have to know where it's going. It simply follows the paths available, patient, steady, unbothered. A soft joke because it fits. Groundwater is the most introverted traveler. It takes the scenic route, avoids crowds, and shows up warm like, "Hi, I've been on a journey." When it returns to the surface as a geothermal spring, it brings a sense of continuity. Something that left the surface long ago comes back in a new form, warmer, mineral-rich, carrying quiet traces of the underground world. And in the valley, that underground story becomes visible in gentle ways. Steam rising, warm streams winding between stones, mineral patterns lining the pool edges like soft handwriting. This is a place where the invisible becomes tenderly visible, and that can comfort a tired mind because so much of what we carry is invisible too. Stress sits in shoulders, worry hides behind the eyes, fatigue settles quietly in the body. But here, the landscape reminds you, unseen things can move, change, and return differently. They don't have to stay stuck in one form. The spring doesn't burst out of the ground. It emerges, calmly, like a thought arriving gently, not demanding attention, simply present. Inhale, as if drawing cool air from the surface. Exhale, as if releasing warmth from below. Imagine your own breath as a quiet cycle, air entering, air leaving, without needing you to manage it. Imagine your mind as water traveling through hidden channels, slowly warming, slowly softening, slowly returning to calm. The world under the ground is not hurried. It is steady, it is patient, it is full of time. So tonight, you can borrow that patience. You don't need to solve everything at the surface. You can let your thoughts sink down into quiet layers. You can let them warm into softness, and you can allow rest to rise gently, like a spring returning home, underground, upward, into steam, into quiet. And if sleep comes now, it can come the same way geothermal water comes, unforced, natural, arriving after a long journey, ready at last to settle. Near geothermal springs, stone rarely stays bare for long. Where moisture lingers and warmth softens the air, life finds gentle footholds, not loud, not dramatic, just steady. Moss spreads like a green hush over rock. Lichen paints pale patches, soft grays, muted greens, like the stone has been lightly dusted with calm. These small living carpets don't hurry. They don't chase sunlight in big gestures. They simply grow where conditions allow, layer by layer, slowly enough that the growth feels more like time than effort. A little humor, softly affectionate. Moss is living proof that you can be wildly successful while doing absolutely nothing fast. Moss loves moisture, and the edges of warm streams provide it in a quiet way. Not always soaked, not always dry, just gently damp, like the air is always holding a little extra softness. Lichen, too, is patient and adaptable, living on stone as if stone were the most reasonable place in the world to settle down and build a tiny, calm life. At night, these greens are subtle. They blend into shadow, but you can sense them in texture. The way a rock looks less sharp, the way a surface appears velvety rather than hard. In steam, the moss seems even softer, like the valley is wrapped in a quiet blanket of living fabric. This softness is restful to watch because it's uncomplicated. Moss doesn't overthink. Lichen doesn't worry about tomorrow. They simply remain, calm witnesses to water passing, steam rising, night returning. If your mind has been overactive, let it learn from these small organisms. You don't need to rush to fix everything. You don't need to sprint towards solutions. You can simply settle into the conditions of rest and let calm grow in you, slowly, quietly, without fanfare. Inhale, like cool air touching damp stone. Exhale, like warmth rising and softening everything it meets. Imagine moss along the edges of your thoughts, covering sharp corners, smoothing rough patches. Imagine lichen creating quiet patterns on old worries, making them feel less harsh, less urgent, more distant. The valley doesn't demand that you understand every detail of life here. It simply offers a feeling, moisture, warmth, and time, enough for softness to take hold. So let softness take hold in you now. Let your eyes feel heavier. Let your breath feel slower. Let your attention settle like moss settling on stone until your mind is quiet and your rest becomes natural, steady, and gentle. Not every geothermal pool is a grand centerpiece. Some are hidden, a small basin tucked behind a cluster of rocks, a shallow pocket of warm water tucked beneath overhanging grass, a quiet little pool you could miss if you weren't moving slowly, if you weren't letting your eyes soften and your attention drift. These hidden pools feel especially comforting. They don't look like attractions. They look like secrets the earth keeps for itself. Steam rises from them too, but thinner, softer, as if even the vapor is trying not to disturb the quiet. A gentle joke whispered, "This is the kind of pool that would absolutely refuse to be tagged on social media. Very private, very serene. The water here is often calmer, protected from wind by stone and plants. The surface holds a gentle shimmer, and the edges may be lined with pale mineral deposits, like a soft border stitched around a blanket. Sometimes you can hear the smallest sounds, a drip from a warm rock ledge, the faint lap of water against stone, the slow sigh of steam lifting into cool air. It's the kind of soundscape that doesn't ask you to listen closely. It simply exists, and your mind naturally quiets in response. This is what hidden places do. They lower the volume. And maybe that's why they're so useful for sleep. Because the mind, too, needs a tucked away corner sometimes. a place where it can retreat from the day's brightness and complexity, a small internal pool of warmth where nothing is required. Inhale, like stepping into shelter. Exhale, like settling into warmth. Imagine yourself beside this hidden pool. You don't need to explore further. You don't need to go anywhere. You can simply be there, close to warm water, surrounded by stone, wrapped in steam that drifts like a slow exhale. If thoughts come, they can sit at the edge of the pool like stones, quiet, still, not needing to be picked up. If worries try to speak, they can soften into vapor and drift away. The pool doesn't argue with steam. It lets it rise and vanish. Let your mind do the same. Let your breathing become the only gentle motion. Let your body feel supported, heavy, safe. Let the day remain outside this small, sheltered space. The hidden pool is not performing. It is simply resting in its own warmth. And you are allowed to do that too. Resting without explanation, quiet without effort, until sleep arrives like steam. Soft, inevitable, and kind. Even in a quiet geothermal valley, life continues, softly. At night, you might notice small movements near the warm edges. Not frantic, not dramatic, just gentle routines. A tiny insect resting on a damp rock. A moth drifting slowly through steam, as if it enjoys the warmth but doesn't want to make a fuss about it. A beetle moving along the margin where water meets stone, careful and unhurried. Warmth creates little pockets of comfort, and comfort in nature often attracts quiet visitors. A tiny joke, gentle as a lullaby. The warm edge is basically the valley's heated seat feature, and some creatures are politely taking advantage. Honestly, same. Near the springs, the air can be slightly warmer and more humid, which can change how the night feels for small animals. Moisture clings to surfaces, and tiny droplets gather on leaves. For insects, this can be a calm advantage. Water close by, temperatures less harsh, a little more softness in the air. But we don't need to turn this into a story of survival. We can keep it as a story of routine. The valley offers warmth. The night offers quiet. Small creatures move through it like slow punctuation marks, appearing, pausing, drifting out of view. If there's a stream, you might hear faint movement at its edge, perhaps a small amphibian resting near damp stones, still and calm. Or you might see nothing at all, and that's perfectly fine. Nature doesn't always show itself on command. Sometimes the most soothing thing is simply knowing life is there, quietly, without needing to be seen. The steam itself becomes part of the night's shelter. It creates softness, blurs distance, makes the landscape feel closer and safer. A moth passing through steam looks like a small piece of moving night, unhurried, weightless. And you can become weightless too. Inhale, like cool air entering gently. Exhale, like warmth spreading and relaxing the body. Imagine the night animals doing their quiet routines without stress. No rush, no drama, just gentle presence. Let that presence remind your mind that it doesn't have to be busy to be okay. It doesn't have to produce anything to be safe. The valley doesn't demand productivity. It offers warmth. It offers quiet. It offers permission to slow down. So as these small creatures move softly at the warm edges, let your own thoughts move softly too, slower, thinner, quieter, until they begin to fade into the steam, and sleep becomes the calmest visitor of all, arriving without a sound. Under moonlight, some hot springs look like they've been poured into stone, smooth, glossy, and quietly luminous. The water's surface isn't perfectly still, but it behaves like something calm. Tiny movements pass through it, soft ripples from a drifting breeze, a faint tremble from warmth rising below. Yet the pool returns to smoothness almost immediately, as if it's practiced. Along the edges, minerals leave pale rims that catch the moonlight more readily than the darker rock. The contrast is gentle, creamy borders against black stone, a soft glow against a deep night. If steam drifts across, the whole scene blurs for a moment, then clears again, like the valley blinking slowly. A small, sleepy joke. The pool is basically doing skincare in real time, hydrated, glowing, and absolutely unbothered. The science here can stay soft. Mineral-rich water sometimes deposits thin layers that make rock surfaces look glazed or polished. Over time, repeated flow can smooth certain channels, and the constant dampness adds a sheen that moonlight loves. The result is a landscape that looks half natural, half dream, stone that shines like quiet glass, water that reflects like gentle metal. And when the light is low, your brain doesn't need details. It needs mood. It needs softness. It needs permission to stop zooming in on everything. So let the pool be your cue. If your thoughts keep trying to sharpen into important things, let them lose focus. Let them become moonlit instead of fluorescent. Let them shimmer a little, then blur under steam. Inhale, cool night air. Exhale, warm softness rising. Imagine the mineral rims as calm boundaries, simple lines that hold warmth without containing it too tightly. The water sits inside them the way rest sits inside a tired body, naturally, quietly, without needing to be explained. The moon doesn't rush across the sky. It just moves slowly, doing what it does. The pool doesn't try to impress the moon. It simply reflects what arrives. You can do that too tonight. Let the night arrive. Let the warmth arrive. Let sleep arrive when it's ready. And if you're still awake, you don't have to fix that. You can just float here for a while, watching moonlight soften the edges of stone, watching steam drift like slow breath, watching the water hold the sky in pieces. The valley keeps glowing gently. Your body keeps breathing gently. And your mind can begin to do the same, quietly reflecting, quietly releasing, until it becomes smooth again. Sometimes the quietest sound in a geothermal valley is also the most comforting. A soft hiss, not sharp, not startling, more like a gentle whisper made of air and warmth, steam meeting cool night, moisture condensing and drifting, tiny currents sliding across water. The sound is so subtle you might mistake it for silence at first, until your attention relaxes enough to hear what's always been there. The valley isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It communicates like a lullaby does, through steadiness, repetition, and softness. A tiny joke, barely audible. If your brain is looking for drama, the valley's response is basically, best I can do is shh. Very on brand for sleep. The hiss can come from places where warm water moves into cooler air, where a thin trickle slides over a heated rock and releases vapor, or where steam rises more densely from a pool's surface, It's not a single sound. It's a texture, like fabric brushing fabric, like breath in a quiet room. And there's something soothing about sound that doesn't demand interpretation. It doesn't feel like information. It feels like atmosphere. If you've had a day full of voices, messages, conversations, notifications, this kind of sound is a relief. It doesn't ask you to answer. It doesn't ask you to remember. It doesn't ask you to be smart. It only asks you to soften. Inhale and listen without effort. Exhale and let the sound carry the edges of your thoughts away. You might also hear other tiny companions to the hiss, a faint drip from a warm ledge, water sliding over pebbles, the lightest movement of grass in a breeze. Together they form a soundscape that feels like the Earth's bedtime routine, slow, repetitive, calm, and repetition is powerful for sleep. The hiss returns, the drip returns, the hush returns, and your breath returns too, again and again, without needing your attention to supervise it. So tonight, if your thoughts feel loud, don't wrestle them, don't argue. Just place them beside this soft hiss and let the valley's quiet texture gently outlast them. Your mind can't stay loud forever in a place like this. Not when the air is whispering. Not when water is smoothing itself. Not when steam is rising like slow breath. Let the hiss become a blanket for your attention. Let it cover the sharp corners. Let it blur the day. And as the valley keeps whispering, steady, kind, unhurried, allow your mind to drift toward the same quiet until sleep feels less like something you're trying to do and more like something that is already happening. If you could watch heat move, you might be surprised by how gentle it is. It doesn't sprint. It doesn't leap. It travels quietly through stone, through water, through air. In a geothermal valley, this movement is happening all the time, like a slow, invisible current. Warmth rises from below, spreads through rock, gathers in pools, and then drifts outward into the cool night. The whole landscape becomes a soft lesson in sharing. Warm water gives a little heat to the air. Air carries it a little farther. Rocks warm at the edges, then cool again. Steam lifts and fades, then returns. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is frantic. Just slow circulation. A small joke. Warm and gentle. Geothermal heat is basically the world's most patient delivery service. No tracking number, no updates, and yet, somehow, it always arrives. The science can stay simple. Geothermal warmth comes from the Earth's internal heat, and from heat stored in rock. Water moving through underground spaces can absorb that heat and carry it upward. Once at the surface, heat spreads by contact and by movement, into rocks, into air, into the moisture of fog. But you don't need to memorize that. You only need to feel the mood it creates. Steady warmth that doesn't demand anything. And that steadiness is exactly what tired minds crave. Because much of our stress is the feeling of urgency. Things that need to happen now. Answers that need to be found now. Emotions that feel too bright, too immediate. Geothermal warmth offers the opposite, a quiet certainty that doesn't hurry. So imagine warmth moving through stone the way calm moves through your body, not all at once, not like a switch, like a slow tide. Inhale, and allow a small warmth to reach your chest. Exhale, and let it travel downward, loosening your stomach, your hips, your legs. You don't have to force relaxation. You can let it spread the way heat spreads, through contact, through time, through steady presence. Even your bed is doing a version of this, holding your warmth, returning it gently, helping your body feel safe enough to let go. And the valley, in its own way, is doing the same, holding warmth in pools, releasing it into air, creating an atmosphere that feels like permission. So if you're still awake, that's fine. You're simply in the warming phase. Let calm travel slowly. Let your thoughts cool gradually. Let your attention settle into the rhythm of heat. Rise, spread, soften. The earth continues its quiet work beneath you. Warmth continues its slow journey upward. And sleep, like warmth, can arrive without being chased. It can simply reach you, gently, when it's ready. Some landscapes remember in shapes. A river remembers in curves. A cliff remembers in layers. A forest remembers in rings. And a geothermal valley remembers water. It remembers where warm streams have wandered because the stone is slightly smoother there. It remembers where pools have overflowed because pale mineral traces outline old pathways like faint handwriting. It remembers where steam rises most often because nearby rocks stay darker with moisture. And moss gathers more confidently in those gentle, damp places. This memory isn't dramatic. It doesn't keep souvenirs in a box. It keeps traces, quiet evidence that something has passed this way many times, slowly enough to leave soft marks. A small, sleepy joke. The valley is basically the kind of person who says, "I'm not sentimental," and then keeps 100 tiny reminders anyway. Very subtle, very emotional. In geothermal areas, the memory can be literal mineral deposition. Thin layers that build over time, recording flow patterns in pale rims and terraces. It can be biological too. Tiny mats of life settling where temperatures feel just right, returning to the same comfortable zones like a tradition. And it can be sensory. The way the air feels warmer in certain pockets, the way steam curls more often near certain rocks, the way the sound of water grows louder near a familiar channel. Tonight, you can let this idea comfort you, because you also remember in traces. Not every memory is a clear picture. Many are textures, the feeling of warm water on your hands, the smell of rain on pavement, the quiet relief of finally lying down. These memories don't shout. They settle in the body like warmth, settling in stone. And maybe that's what the earth remembers too. Not events, but rhythms. Water arrives, water warms, water leaves traces, water returns. This is a kind of patience you can borrow. If your mind is full of sharp memories tonight, busy, bright, demanding, let them become softer. Let them become traces instead of headlines. Let them fade into gentle impressions, like steam fading into night air. Inhale, like a warm spring returning. Exhale, like a quiet trace left behind. The land doesn't cling, it holds lightly. A mineral rim here, a smooth channel there, a damp rock face that darkens again and again. Memory without burden. You can practice that now. Hold the day lightly. Hold your thoughts lightly. Let them be traces that can soften, blur, and fade. And as you drift deeper into rest, imagine the valley holding its water memories quietly, like a warm place that doesn't need to explain itself. A place that simply continues, steady, gentle, returning again and again. In a geothermal valley, balance is everywhere, and it doesn't look like control. It looks like response. Warmth rises and steam forms. Steam drifts, and cool air shapes it. Water flows, and stone guides it. Minerals settle, and the landscape slowly changes. It's a calm feedback loop, small adjustments, steady outcomes. Nothing is frantic, nothing is forced. A gentle joke, because it's bedtime friendly. If nature had a project manager, it would be the slowest, calmest one imaginable. No meetings, no urgent emails, just quiet systems that work. Heat warms water from below. Warm water releases some heat into the air. Cooler air turns moisture into fog and steam you can see. Fog softens the valley, keeps the air damp, and helps moisture linger on rock and plant. Plants and moss settle where dampness stays. And the whole place continues, quietly tuning itself like a lullaby that never needs a new verse. This kind of balance is soothing because it doesn't require perfection. It isn't brittle. It can shift slightly and still remain itself. Wind can come and go. Temperature can dip. Steam can thicken or thin. The valley doesn't panic. It adjusts. And that is a beautiful thing to remember at night. You don't have to be perfect to rest. Your day doesn't have to be perfect. Your thoughts don't have to be perfect. You can be a feedback loop too. If you notice tension, you release a little. If you notice worry, you soften your breath. If you notice your mind racing, you slow down gently, not as a battle, as a response. Inhale and notice your body. Exhale and let it settle a little more. Your nervous system is always doing quiet adjustments, just like the valley. Heartbeats speeding up, then easing. Muscles tightening, then letting go. Attention sharpening, then drifting. The body knows how to come back to balance if you give it time and gentleness. So tonight, don't chase sleep. Don't demand it. Let your system adjust toward it. The way warm water adjusts toward cooler air, the way steam adjusts into fog, the way ripples adjust into stillness. A slow inhale, a slower exhale. And imagine the valley doing its quiet balancing act around you. Warmth rising, moisture drifting, water smoothing itself, stone holding steady. Let that balance become your atmosphere. If you're still awake, that's okay. You're simply in the process. The loop is working. Calm is returning, one breath at a time. And soon, without needing a dramatic moment, sleep can arrive as the gentlest adjustment of all. Your thoughts thinning, your awareness narrowing, your body settling into stillness, as naturally as steam becoming quiet air again. Geothermal landscapes are full of quiet adaptations. Water learns to find cracks. Heat learns to rise. Steam learns to drift. Life learns to settle where the conditions are kind, and none of it feels like a struggle. It feels like adjustment, small shifts that fit the world as it is. Warm water doesn't demand a straight road. It follows the paths available. A fracture in stone, a porous layer, a narrow channel that opens like a secret hallway beneath the ground. It moves slowly, collecting minerals, warming gently, arriving when it arrives. A soft joke, kept cozy. Geothermal water has never once said, "This is not my preferred route." It just takes the route. Very emotionally mature for water. On the surface, you can see adaptation too. Steam gathers in sheltered pockets where wind is blocked by rock. Warm trickles carve new tiny paths as mineral edges build up and redirect flow. Moss grows where moisture lingers. Lichen spreads where stone offers quiet stability. Even the valley itself adapts, shaped over time by repeated warmth and water, becoming smoother in some places, layered in others. Nothing here insists on staying exactly the same, and yet everything remains familiar. That's the poetry, change without chaos, and you can borrow that tonight. If your mind is restless, you don't have to force it into stillness. You can guide it gently into calmer channels. You can let your attention find a softer path, the way warm water finds its way through stone. Inhale, like warmth rising slowly. Exhale, like water drifting into a quiet basin. Sometimes adaptation is simply choosing what feels kinder. A slower breath, a softer focus, a decision not to chase the sharp thought. You might imagine your thoughts as warm streams. If one path feels too steep, too intense, too bright, you let the stream shift. You let it slip around the obstacle. You let it move toward a gentler slope. No conflict, no urgency, just a quiet redirection. The valley shows you that the world is full of alternate routes, and none of them need to be dramatic. A stream can change course by millimeters, and over time that change becomes a new pattern, smooth, stable, natural. So tonight, let small adjustments be enough. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breathing slow slightly. You are adapting towards sleep, not in a heroic way, in a quiet way. Warmth finds a path, water finds a basin, steam finds the night air, and you can find rest softly, gradually, until your mind becomes as calm as a sheltered pool, and sleep feels like the most natural place to settle. Even geothermal valleys have seasons. The springs remain warm, steady, faithful, but everything around them changes gently over the year. In colder months, the contrast becomes more dramatic. Steam looks thicker, the air feels sharper, and warm pools seem even more comforting. In warmer seasons, the valley feels lighter, the steam thins, and the warmth blends more quietly into the night. The springs are like a constant note in a slow song, while the rest of the landscape provides the shifting verses. A soft joke tucked into the mist. The hot springs do not care about seasonal trends. They are always in, timeless, effortless, very annoying in the best way. In winter, snow might sit close to the edges of warm water, and fog may rise like a gentle curtain against a cold sky. In summer, grasses lean toward streams. Insects hum softly near damp places, and the night air carries warmth in a gentler way. In autumn, fallen leaves may collect near mineral rims, and the pools reflect golden hints before darkness returns. The springs keep doing what they do, warming water from within, releasing steam like slow breath. The seasons simply change the way we see it, and that's comforting, because it reminds us that stability doesn't mean sameness. The same warm pool can feel different depending on the air, the light, the time of year, and you too can be stable while still changing gently. Tonight, you don't need to be the same as you were yesterday. You don't need to hold the same mood, the same energy, the same thoughts. You can let your inner season shift toward rest. Inhale, like cool night air. Exhale, like warm steam rising. If your day was heavy, let this night be lighter. If your mind was busy, let this hour be simple. Seasons teach us that everything returns, even when it feels far away. Calm returns, quiet returns, sleep returns, even if it takes time. So imagine the valley in different seasons: steam in winter, thin mist in summer, soft fog in autumn, clear moonlight in spring. The springs remain constant, like a gentle heartbeat under changing weather. Let that constancy settle you. Your breath is constant too, arriving again and again, even when the day was messy. And tonight, breath can lead you into the returning pattern of sleep. Not forced, not rushed, just returned, like steam rising again from warm water, night after night, season after season. The geothermal valley is a place of cooperation. Water doesn't dominate stone. Stone doesn't trap water. They work together in slow agreement, water flowing where it can, stone shaping the flow without anger, without resistance. The result is a landscape that feels calm by design, basins held, terraces formed, channels guided, warmth shared. This cooperation isn't dramatic, it's ordinary, and ordinary is soothing. A gentle joke, because it fits the mood. Water and stone are basically the calmest roommates ever. No arguing over dishes, just quiet collaboration for thousands of years. Warm water rises and meets the surface. Stone provides a basin, a pathway, an edge. Minerals settle and build tiny rims that redirect flow. Water accepts the new direction and continues, smoothing the rim, reinforcing the channel. Over time, small adjustments become stable patterns. Even steam participates. It drifts and condenses, dampening stone, softening moss, keeping the air gentle, and the plants, grasses, moss, lichen, accept this moisture without demanding more. Everything takes what it needs and offers what it can. It's a network of calm exchange. And you can borrow that feeling of cooperation tonight. Your body is already cooperating with you. Your lungs breathe without being asked. Your heart keeps a steady rhythm. Your muscles relax when you let them. The bed cooperates too, supporting your weight. The air cooperates, cooling your skin in soft waves. So you don't have to fight yourself into sleep. You can cooperate with rest. Inhale and let the body receive air. Exhale and let the body release tension. If a thought arrives, you don't need to battle it. You can let it pass through like water through a channel, guided gently, not blocked. If a worry tries to sit at the center of attention, you can move around it, the way water slips around a stone, continuing without conflict. Cooperation is calmer than control. So imagine warm water flowing over stone terraces, slipping into basins, moving onward. Imagine the stone holding shape without gripping too tightly. Imagine the whole valley participating in a quiet agreement. We will make this gentle, and let your inner world join that agreement. Let your breath cooperate with stillness. Let your mind cooperate with soft focus. Let your body cooperate with gravity. The valley is proof that softness can be built, not by force, but by repeated gentle collaboration. And as your attention drifts, you may feel that collaboration becoming sleep. A quiet settling between body and bed, between breath and silence, between thoughts and fog, until everything aligns into the simplest form of rest. In geothermal places, warmth is always changing form. It rises from deep rock and warms water. Warm water releases steam. Steam drifts into cool air and becomes mist. Mist settles into dew. Dew disappears into morning light. Nothing here is trapped in one state. Everything transforms gently, without drama. A sleepy joke, very soft. Geothermal warmth has had many careers: rock heater, pool warmer, fog maker, dew decorator. Overachiever, but in the calmest way possible. This cycle is comforting because it's predictable. Warmth doesn't vanish, it moves. Water doesn't end, it travels. Steam doesn't disappear, it becomes something else. Change is constant, but it's not chaotic. It's a slow, steady dance between temperature and time. The valley also holds quieter cycles, mineral rims building slowly, moss spreading gradually, terraces forming step by step. These are life cycles measured in patience rather than days. And for you, tonight, this can be a gentle reminder. Your day is also changing form. The busy part can become the quiet part. The tension can become softness. The thinking can become drifting. You don't have to force the change. You can allow it. Inhale, like warmth rising. Exhale, like steam releasing. If you're still awake, you might simply be in the steam phase. Your thoughts still visible, drifting, changing shape. That's okay. Steam doesn't mean trouble. It means warmth is transitioning. So let thoughts drift. Let them curl and thin. Let them rise and fade. Let them become less solid. And if you feel a small wave of sleepiness, welcome it without grabbing. Just let it settle like dew, quietly arriving when the air cools enough. The most soothing part of this cycle is that nothing has to win. Night doesn't fight day. Cool air doesn't fight warm water. They meet, exchange, soften. You can meet your tiredness the same way. No struggle, no urgency, just an agreement to let the night do its gentle work. So imagine the valley. Warm pools in darkness, steam rising into cool air, fog drifting low, dew forming along grasses. Life continuing quietly, cycle after cycle. And imagine your own cycle tonight. Breath after breath, thought after thought, each one a little softer than the last, until the final transformation happens naturally, and sleep becomes the new form your mind takes. Steady and calm. Nothing in a geothermal valley moves quickly, and that might be its greatest gift. Heat rises slowly, water travels patiently, minerals settle in tiny layers, steam drifts like a long sigh. Even the landscape itself changes at a pace that makes human urgency feel a little silly in the nicest way. Terraces build over years, channels smooth over seasons. Rocks are shaped by repetition, not force. A gentle joke, barely louder than fog. If the valley could give advice, it would say, "Have you tried taking several centuries?" Not practical, but emotionally helpful. Slowness here doesn't feel like delay. It feels like safety. Fast things can startle the nervous system. They demand attention. They make the mind wake up. But slow things invite the mind to soften. They give you time to exhale. They create space for rest to arrive naturally. So tonight, let slowness become your atmosphere. You don't need to rush to sleep. You don't need to hurry your thoughts away. You don't need to sprint into calm. You can drift into it. Inhale, slowly. Exhale, a little slower. Imagine the warm stream wandering through stone, taking its time, pausing in shallow pockets, slipping forward again. Imagine steam rising in ribbons, never in a burst. Imagine mineral rims forming one invisible layer at a time until the valley becomes smoother, softer, more shaped by patience. And if your mind is still busy, let it learn from that. Let it move slowly too. A thought can arrive slowly. It can pass slowly. It can fade slowly. No pressure to be instantly empty. Slowness is not a failure. Slowness is a rhythm. And sleep loves rhythm. So let the valley's pace become your pace. Let your awareness narrow gently. Let your body feel heavier, more supported. Let your eyes feel softer behind closed lids. Warmth from below, cool air above, steam drifting between. Everything in this place is doing one simple thing, moving softly. And you can do that now, breath by breath, moment by moment, until your mind becomes as slow and quiet as warm water settling into a stone basin, and sleep arrives like the next gentle step in a cycle that has always known how to return. There is something deeply comforting about watching steam disappear, not vanish in a worrying way, more like a gentle release. Steam rises from warm water and pale ribbons, curls for a while in the cool air, and then thins until it becomes part of the night again. No struggle, no sudden ending, just a soft return to invisibility. Steam doesn't cling to its shape. It doesn't try to stay dramatic. It simply lifts, loosens, and lets go. A tiny joke, soft as a pillow. Steam never overthinks. It doesn't say, "Wait, was that the right direction?" It just drifts. Honestly, an icon. Tonight you can let your thoughts behave the same way. Some thoughts are like steam, warm, persistent, rising from the day. They show up because they have heat behind them. Conversations, tasks, worries, small emotional leftovers. But like steam, they don't have to stay thick forever. They can thin, they can fade, they can become part of a larger quiet. Letting go doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be a big decision. It can be a series of small releases, one exhale at a time. Inhale and notice what you're holding. Exhale and loosen it slightly. If a thought returns, let it return. Steam rises in waves. It's normal. You don't have to chase it away. You can simply allow it to lift, curl, and soften again. The geothermal pool keeps offering warmth, and the air keeps receiving it. The exchange continues without conflict. Warmth turns to steam, steam turns to mist, mist turns to air. Everything becomes lighter. So let your mind become lighter too. Imagine a thought as a ribbon of steam. Let it rise gently. Let it drift. Let it thin. And then, without effort, let it blend back into the background. Inhale, like warm water releasing. Exhale, like steam dissolving into sky. You don't have to solve the day to rest. You don't have to organize every feeling before sleep. You can let the day be unfinished in the most peaceful way, like a valley still steaming, still warm, still perfectly okay. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your eyes feel heavy. And if you feel yourself drifting, you don't have to notice it. You can simply follow the steam's example, becoming softer, becoming quieter, becoming less defined, until sleep arrives as the gentlest disappearance of all, and your mind becomes part of the night. Now, as the valley grows quieter, we return softly to the question we carried in the mist. What does the earth remember when it warms water from within? We don't need an answer. We don't need a conclusion. We can simply hold the question the way you hold warm water in your hands, briefly, gently, without gripping. Maybe the earth remembers paths, cracks where water travels down, hidden chambers where warmth collects, slow channels where minerals dissolve and drift. Maybe it remembers seasons, not as dates, but as temperature changes felt deep underground. Maybe it remembers the weight of snowmelt seeping down, the quiet persistence of rain, the long patience of time. And maybe remember is simply what we call it when nature repeats something faithfully. Water goes down, water warms, water rises, steam lifts, the valley softens. A tiny wink of humor, barely there. The earth has been doing this routine for so long, it could probably do it with its eyes closed. Which is a comforting thought, because that's exactly what we're trying to do. In a way, geothermal warmth is the Earth's steadiness made visible. Its deep stability offering surface comfort. It's the reminder that beneath changing weather, something calm continues. And that can help you tonight, because your mind may be changeable, busy, tired, sensitive to the day. But beneath that, your body knows how to rest. Your nervous system knows how to settle when it feels safe. Your breath knows how to slow when it isn't being pushed. So return to the question gently and let it guide you towards something simple. The earth remembers how to keep going quietly, and you can remember how to sleep quietly. Inhale, like warmth rising. Exhale, like steam drifting away. If thoughts come, they can sit beside the question without answering it. If worry appears, it can soften in the mist. Nothing needs to be resolved tonight. The valley doesn't resolve itself. It simply continues, warm water returning, steam lifting, stone holding shape. So let your mind continue in the simplest way, breath returning, shoulders loosening, eyes heavy. What does the earth remember when it warms water from within? Let the question fade into feeling. Let it become warmth without words, and as it fades, let you fade too, into calm, into quiet, into sleep. The valley is quieter now, not because it has stopped, but because everything has eased. The steam rises in thinner ribbons. The water sounds softer, as if even the stream is lowering its voice. The wind, if it passes at all, is polite, barely touching leaves, barely shaping the mist. This is the part of the night where words can become less important, because your body is already understanding. It's understanding the warm ground. It's understanding the cool air. It's understanding the steady rhythm of breath. And your mind can begin to drift in the same way the mist drifts slowly without a destination. A tiny, sleepy joke. If your brain tries to start a late-night planning session, you are officially allowed to cancel it. Thank you for your enthusiasm. We are closed. Inhale and feel the body supported. Exhale and let the muscles soften. If your thoughts are still moving, let them move slowly. Don't chase them. Don't push them. Let them wander like warm stream water, gliding around stones, becoming quieter as it travels, drifting, settling, quieting. Let your attention grow smaller, like a candle flame lowering itself. Let the world outside your body become less detailed. The room becomes softer in your mind. the day becomes farther away. The only clear thing is the gentle rise and fall of breath. Inhale, coolness. Exhale, warmth. Imagine the geothermal pool's surface smoothing as ripples fade. Imagine steam thinning into the night. Imagine the valley becoming a simple shape. Warmth below, cool above, softness between. And let your mind match that shape. Warmth in the body, coolness in the air, softness in the thoughts. If a thought arrives, it can be like a bubble in warm water, a small rise, a quiet release, then smoothness again. Nothing to hold, nothing to chase, drifting, settling, quieting. Your eyelids may feel heavier, your jaw may loosen, your shoulders may sink a little deeper into support. This is your nervous system doing what it knows when the world feels safe. And if sleep arrives now, you don't have to notice it. You can simply let yourself become quieter than words, quieter than thought, like mist dissolving into night air. Now the wind eases, not dramatically, just gently, like someone lowering the volume in a room. Leaves that were moving become still. Steam that was drifting sideways begins to rise more straight, more softly. And the valley looks calmer, as if it's been tucked in. The water smooths too. In the warm pools, tiny ripples flatten. Rings from bubbles spread and fade until the surface becomes quietly reflective again. In the stream, the sound grows even softer, more hush than murmur. Everything is settling into the simplest version of itself. A micro joke, almost drowsy. Even the wind seems to be thinking, okay, that's enough for tonight. Same, wind, same. This is the moment where you can let your own inner weather settle. If there's tension in your shoulders, let it ease like the wind easing. If there are ripples in your thoughts, let them smooth like the water smoothing. Inhale and feel the calm expand. Exhale and let the edges soften. The geothermal valley keeps offering steadiness, warm ground that doesn't flicker, water that moves without urgency, steam that rises without effort. It's a landscape built for quiet repetition, and repetition is soothing. So repeat something gentle with your breath. In and out, in and out. No counting needed, no technique needed. Just the simplest rhythm, like water continuing to be water, like air continuing to be air. If your mind tries to jump ahead, let it return. Like a ripple returning to stillness, like wind returning to calm, like steam returning to the night. Everything is easing. The valley is easing. The water is smoothing. Your body can ease too. Let your face soften. Let your tongue rest. Let your hands feel heavy. And if sleep is close now, you can let it arrive the way calm arrives in nature, quietly, without announcement, without effort, just the gentle settling of everything into stillness. Now we let the question fade, not because it was unimportant, but because it has done its work. It guided us gently into the valley, into warmth, into softness, and now, like steam thinning into night air, it can dissolve into quiet. What does the earth remember when it warms water from within? We don't need to answer. We can let the question become a feeling. Steady warmth beneath changing weather. A calm cycle continuing without hurry. A planet offering comfort quietly. A tiny, almost inaudible joke. The earth is not waiting for our conclusion. It's been warm this whole time. Very confident. The valley doesn't require understanding. It offers atmosphere. It offers the soft hiss of steam. It offers smooth water and gentle fog. It offers the permission to stop thinking so hard. So stop trying to hold the question. Let it slip away. Let it thin. Let it become part of the background. Inhale and feel warmth. Exhale and feel release. If thoughts appear, let them appear. If they fade, let them fade. You don't have to manage them. You don't have to fix them. This is not the time for clarity. This is the time for softness. Imagine the pool holding the sky in faint reflection, then steam drifting across and blurring it. Imagine the reflection returning, then blurring again. The mind can do the same. Glimpses of thought, then blur, then quiet. And soon, the blur becomes sleep. Let your awareness grow smaller now, like a point of light dimming. Let the valley become a distant feeling rather than a picture. Warmth below, coolness above, softness in between. The question is fading. The day is fading. Your thoughts are fading. All that remains is breath, steady, quiet, and kind, in and out. And if sleep comes now, you don't need to greet it. You can simply drift into it, like steam becoming sky, like water becoming still, until the night holds you completely and everything becomes quiet. Now we enter the final rest, where the words become fewer and the feeling becomes softer. In the valley, light is fading, not because it's leaving suddenly, but because night is deepening into its quietest shade. Moonlight rests on rocks in thin, pale patches. Steam lifts in slow ribbons, barely visible now, more sensed than seen. The warm pools continue their steady stillness, holding heat without needing any attention. Everything looks as if it has decided to rest in place, and you can rest in place too. Inhale and feel the body supported. Exhale and let the shoulders sink. The geothermal warmth is not loud. It doesn't flare. It simply exists, steady, patient, calm. The ground holds warmth like a secret kept kindly. The water carries it gently. The air receives it in soft fog, then releases it again. It's a rhythm you don't have to control. A tiny lullaby joke, barely a whisper. Even the steam seems like it's yawning. It rises, stretches, and dissolves. Very relatable. Your mind can do the same. Stretch, soften, dissolve. If thoughts appear, let them be faint. Let them be like pale moonlight on stone, present, but not bright. If feelings appear, let them be like steam, soft, changing shape, not demanding a story. Inhale, cool air. Exhale, warm release. You don't need to travel anywhere now. The journey has become stillness. The valley has brought you to the simplest place. A quiet body, a quiet breath, a quiet mind. Let the sounds fade too. The soft hiss of steam becomes barely noticeable. The water's murmur becomes background. The night is not trying to entertain you. It's trying to hold you. So let yourself be held by the bed, by gravity, by the gentle rhythm of breathing. Warmth can settle in your chest. Quiet can settle in your thoughts. Sleep can settle in the spaces between. And as you drift, you may not even notice the moment you slip over the edge, because sleep rarely announces itself. It arrives like fog, gently, gradually, and then all at once, everything is softer. So keep breathing, keep loosening, keep quieting, and let the geothermal valley remain behind your eyelids, warm, steady, patient, until you no longer need images at all, and rest becomes the only thing that remains. In the deepest part of night, dew begins its quiet work. It gathers when the air cools enough, when moisture can settle into tiny beads, when surfaces become just receptive enough to hold softness. Dew doesn't rush. It doesn't arrive with sound. It simply forms slowly, like calm forming in the mind when you stop pushing. Near geothermal springs, dew and steam share the same world. Warm vapor lifts, cool air receives it, and some of that moisture returns to the valley in small pearls, on grass tips, on moss, along stone edges. A tiny, sleepy joke. Dew is nature's way of saying, "Here, have a little sparkle," and then refusing to discuss it further. Imagine a rock near the pool. Its surface is cool in places, warm in others. Along the cooler edge, dew settles, tiny beads that catch the faintest light. The rock becomes quietly decorated, not for display, but because this is what moisture does when night is kind. And you can become receptive to rest the same way, not by trying, by allowing. Inhale and let the body receive air. Exhale and let the body release weight. If your thoughts are still present, let them be small and round like dew droplets, soft, contained, not sharp. Each thought can sit gently on the surface of attention and then fade without sliding into a story. Dew doesn't cling to drama. It simply exists until morning warms it away. Your thoughts can do the same tonight. Exist briefly, then soften, then disappear, in and out. Imagine the valley dimming further. The pools are still warm, but the visual details are fading. The steam is thinner now, rising quietly and dissolving faster. The sounds are softer, as if the landscape is turning its own volume down. And dew continues to form, tiny beads of quiet on stone and leaf. Let your own quiet form in the same way, a bead of calm here, a bead of calm there, until the mind is covered in softness and nothing feels urgent anymore. Your eyelids feel heavy, your breath feels steady, your body feels safe. Dew gathers because the night has cooled enough. Sleep arrives the same way, when the inner temperature of your mind becomes gentle enough to let go. So let go. Let calm settle. Let thoughts round off. Let rest form naturally, like dew in the quiet wild. Now the world sounds farther away, not because it's gone, but because you're drifting inward toward the calm center of yourself. The valley sounds become a soft background, the faintest hiss of steam, the quiet glide of water, a distant insect rhythm so steady it feels like it belongs to the air itself. Nothing here is calling you to respond. A tiny, drowsy joke. Even the crickets aren't trying to go viral. They're just playing the same relaxing track on repeat. Respect. The distant sounds are friendly because they are predictable. They don't change suddenly. They don't surprise you. They simply exist, steady enough for the mind to stop scanning the darkness for what's next. And when the mind stops scanning, sleep can arrive. Inhale and let the breath be the closest sound. Exhale and let everything else fade farther away. If you imagine the valley now, it is mostly shape and feeling. Warmth below, coolness above, a soft fog between. The pools continue, steady and calm, whether you're watching or not. That's the comfort. The world continues without you needing to manage it. So you can stop managing, Stop checking the day. Stop reviewing the night. Stop holding the future in your hands. Let the distant sounds be a reminder that you are safe, that the night is stable, that nothing urgent is happening, that your only task is to rest. Inhale, slow. Exhale, slower. The sounds drift farther away, like lights dimming in a house after everyone has gone to bed. The valley becomes quieter, not by force, but by distance, by your attention narrowing into comfort. And comfort is simple. A warm heaviness in the body, a steady rhythm in the breath, a soft quiet in the mind. You might feel yourself sinking into the bed, into stillness, into a quiet place where even thoughts become distant. Let them be distant. Let them be far away and friendly. And if sleep comes now, it can come without any ceremony. It can simply take your attention the way fog takes a field, quietly, gradually, until you are no longer listening to the valley, because you are resting inside it, carried by its steadiness into sleep. There is a special calm in things that have had a long time to practice being still. Stones near geothermal springs are excellent at this. They sit beside warm pools and quiet streams night after night, holding their shape, absorbing warmth, cooling again, repeating the cycle without complaint. They don't rush, they don't resist, they simply remain steady, dependable, unbothered. A tiny lullaby joke. Even the stones seem relaxed. They've had practice. At night, the stones are dark and quiet, softened by steam. Their edges blur. Their textures become gentle silhouettes. Sometimes they glisten where moisture clings, small highlights like faint stars resting on rock. And the stones do nothing with those highlights. They don't show off. They don't ask to be admired. They simply exist. This is a good model for your mind. You don't have to perform rest. You don't have to look calm. You can simply be calm. Inhale and feel the bed supporting you. Exhale and let your body sink, heavy like stone. Stones don't carry yesterday. They don't worry about tomorrow. They don't rehearse anything. They accept warmth when it comes, and they let it go when it fades. You can accept sleep the same way. No chasing, no gripping, just receiving. If a thought appears, let it sit lightly on the surface, like a drop of dew on stone. It can be there for a moment. It can reflect a tiny bit of light, and then it can fade. The stone remains steady, in and out. The valley is steady too. Warmth rises, steam lifts, water glides, stone holds. Everything continues in quiet agreement, and you are allowed to be part of that agreement, to rest without effort, to loosen without struggle, to settle without needing a reason. Let your breathing slow, let your face soften, let your body become still, the way stones become still. Not stiff, not tense, just deeply at rest. And if sleep comes now, you don't have to notice. You can simply become like the stones beside the warm spring, held by the earth, quiet in the night, practicing stillness without trying. Now we dissolve into the quietest end of the journey. The geothermal valley becomes mostly feeling, a gentle warmth rising from below, a cool night air above, and a soft mist drifting between, like the earth breathing slowly in its sleep. The pools remain warm and calm. The steam rises faintly, then disappears into darkness. The stream continues its quiet glide, smoothing itself as it moves. The rocks sit steady, damp with dew, softened by fog. Everything is simple now. Inhale and let the breath be easy. Exhale and let the mind loosen. There's nothing to solve, nothing to plan, nothing to hold. If thoughts come, let them be thin. Let them be distant. Let them fade the way steam fades, quietly, naturally. A final micro joke, almost asleep. Even the valley seems like it's done thinking for the night. Very wise, very restful. In and out. Let the warmth in your body remain. Let the coolness in the air soothe you. Let your attention become smaller and softer until it is mostly just breath and comfort. And as the last images fade, the pale mist, the warm pool, the quiet stone, let the feeling remain. Steadiness, safety, belonging. The earth continues its slow cycles beneath you. Water warming, steam rising, dew forming. Morning waiting somewhere far away. Not your concern right now. All you have to do is rest. And now we close with the final lines, softly, steadily, like a door easing shut. Everything flows through the wild. Sleep in that motion.